Welcome to the Hybrid Real Estate Professional Podcast, where we dive deep into the intersection of career, family, and finances. Learn the mindsets, tips, and strategies to help you on your personal journey to build a life of abundance and purpose for you and your family. Now here's your host, Aaron Amin. Welcome back to another episode of the Hybrid Real Estate Professional. Today, I'm joined by Bryce Garcia. Bryce and I met on Twitter, also known as X these days, in 2022, and we've built a friendship through engaging with each other's content. He is a real estate investor, entrepreneur, and premium ghostwriter. We have a ton of parallels on our paths, and this conversation is rich with insights on the beginning stages of investing in short-term rentals, the power of writing online, the importance of having multiple income streams, and why it's crucial to invest in your own development. I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Let's get into it. All right, welcome to the Hybrid Real Estate Professional Podcast. Today, I'm joined by Bryce Garcia. Bryce and I met on Twitter, back when it was still Twitter, and now it's called X, of course. We started following each other, I think, a little over a year ago. We've interacted a ton, almost daily. This is the first time we've actually sat down face-to-face. So I'm really happy to have Bryce on the show. Bryce, can you introduce yourself to the audience a bit in your own words?
I'm Bryce. I'm from Massachusetts, live in Austin now. I started writing online in April of 2022, and I started writing about my real estate experience because I had purchased a house hack. I house hacked and turned that into a short-term rental. And then after that, I bought a second beach property. So I wanted to go onto Twitter and share my experiences. And I didn't really know how to write. So previously, before I did that, I actually tried to do this niche website personas because I got into the whole niche website thing, and I would know kind of what I wanted to say, but I could never put it on paper. And I just had no idea how to structure anything. And I would just sit there and stare at a blank page. And it was so frustrating. So then I got into real estate investing, and I was like, okay, I want to write about this because I want to figure out writing, but I just couldn't grasp it. And then I happened to stumble across Nicholas Cole's free educational email course about how to start writing online. His copy is so good. It just perfectly spoke to me at every step of my journey. And that's what really hooked me into writing. So I was like, this guy doesn't even know me, and he's speaking like he's my coach. So I just started going down the rabbit hole. I went through Ship 30 like you did. Started sharing my experiences about real estate, and then eventually realized that when it comes to short-term rentals, which is what I've been focusing on writing about, I liked writing way more than I liked actually managing my own short-term rentals. Because short-term rentals, it sounds really sexy, but it's pretty much all operations and hospitality. So I can do that, but it was like, that wasn't where my passion was. So I've started to pivot. So I still like to talk about real estate on X because I really believe in the power of the wealth building through real estate. But I've also started to ghostwrite for some real estate investors. And I really like doing that because it wasn't really me telling people how to invest in real estate. I just have 2 properties. I'm not an expert. I've just done what I have to do. But then I can really leverage some people who they really know what they're talking about. They've done hundreds of deals. They're multimillionaires. They run the real estate business, and they just don't have time to write. They don't know how to write. And they might be on Instagram or YouTube and have great video content, but it's so different than writing. So they're not educating anybody on via the written word and through the platform X or email. So I combined, I understand real estate. I now learned how to write. I've been ghostwriting for them which has really just been a good combination of helping them deliver their value and help more people. I mean, we've already helped send out thousands of emails, helped hundreds of people already. So that's just taking off now. And then along the way, my girlfriend and I moved in together, and we started dog sitting a few months ago. So now we've been dog sitting, and that's been paying for our living expenses. So On top of all these things I'm doing, I'm looking to buy a house so we can house hack it and then continue to dog sit there. So that's like where I'm at right now. So it's just been like zigging and zagging and just kind of figuring my way out, but it seems to be in a good spot now. So hopefully that gives a good overview of who I am and my background, and we can, jump into it.
You only omitted one thing, which is that you still work full time. You have a W-2 sales job, right?
I do. That's what funds all this. That's what I do during the day, and then everything else is at night. Yeah, you can do a lot of you can invest in real estate and have a job. You don't need to quit your job to invest in real estate. In fact, it's actually going to hurt you, which no one really talks about. You can't get a home owner occupied loan or just a loan from a bank if you don't have a job. Even if you make more money as a solopreneur or entrepreneur or a freelancer than you do at a job, the security that in the bank size is more important. So I've been doing what you're doing as like the hybrid real estate professional. So I never thought of it as that way, but I really like that, the hybrid term. I think that goes really well with what most people should do instead of trying to quit your job and go all in on real estate is do both and then leverage both and go from there.
I think the philosophy that I see you write about is directly aligned with the hybrid real estate professional idea. And that's the thesis behind the whole show. It's everything I write is take the skills and the income from your W-2, if you have one, invest that into real estate. Or one of the things you and I discovered, like you're articulating in your background, is real estate is an incredible long-term wealth vehicle, and it can have cash flow in the meantime, but it is a long-term vehicle. Like you're not going to probably build enough cash flow to quit your job anytime soon if you're just buying long-term rentals or one or two short-term rentals here and there. But like you said, you tap into some of these other active income streams that are high leverage, like the ghostwriting or the dog walking, and you find ways to start piecing together income that actually can, make a dent. Like you said, you're covering your living expenses just from your dog walking business. That's 1 out of 3 things outside of your job that you're doing.
Yeah.
And so you start to piece together this like basket of activities and diversify your income, diversify your skill set. And then those things compound too over time. And all of a sudden you're just like firing on all these different cylinders. That is truly the hybrid way.
That is the hybrid real estate professional. And it all started, what you're talking about is having multiple income streams. It all started because of COVID. Like pretty much so many real estate people like for me personally, it was all of our sales just stopped for a time. Eventually it actually ended up really helping us out in the long run. But like for a few months, it was just like shut down. And I was like, oh my God, outside of my job, they could let me go. I have no income. Like I am absolutely screwed if something happens. So that's when I found real estate. And a lot of people found Bigger Pockets for that. And Bigger Pockets is amazing because they've taught so many people how to buy real estate. I guess one of the cons of Bigger Pockets are just not even just like real estate influencers in general is they're always talking about the positives, but there's so many drawbacks of it. And it's really operationally intensive. So it's really not passive. Like the whole passive income is like a complete myth with real estate. So, and then it's like, you have to focus on it. So I just think that there's a little bit of I quit my job to go all in real estate. There are definitely people who've done that and people who are 10 times wealthier because of that. But there's way more people that realize how operationally intense it is. And it's okay. I'd rather get what kind of the Chad Carson approach is how grow my wealth long-term, not scale too quickly or not go all in and leave what I'm doing, but have a small and mighty approach to wealth building that I can handle. I can still manage. It's not going to overwhelm me and take away from my job performance, but I'm still building income streams along the way. And then part of what ghostwriting and the dog boarding that we're doing is you can turn them on and off. I can go in on ghostwriting and wake up early before work and stay after work and write and make money. Or if I'm like done with that, I can pull that back and then I can focus on something else. Or with dog boarding, it's like, we already have 2 dogs. It's not that much additional work. So we're building these income streams in a smart way, or I think it's smart. I hope maybe it's not, but I think it's like, we're trying not to take away from the main thing in order to build the side things, but like you have to build the stuff on the side or else you're absolutely vulnerable when the main thing goes.
One, it's also possible that the main thing shifts. Right now, it's understandably, it's a W-2. That's what pays the bills. That's what has the benefits. And presumably you enjoy it to some extent, right? And I think this show speaks to a lot of people who have careers they enjoy and
Yeah.
things that they like doing, teams they like being on. But like you said, they want to maybe diversify away some of their dependency.
Mhm.
Something I've shared openly about our story, right? It's like we have 3 kids now. We had 2 twins 2 months ago. And my wife and I both worked full time up until when we had our first kid. She took some time away from her W-2 and then she went back part time. But we're like incredibly dependent on my full time W-2 to make our just monthly household budget stick. And it's
Mhm.
uncomfortable. It's really
Yeah.
uncomfortable having that much dependency on one thing. 2022 and 2023 were really tough years for layoffs across the industry I work in.
Mhm.
And you can't let go of that clenched feeling of, okay, something could happen and we would be scrambling to figure out what to do. And so, yeah, activating all these other income streams at a minimum takes some of the pressure off. We're lucky that we have real estate that kicks off enough income. We try not to tap into it, but it kicks off enough income that it could float us for a short
Mhm.
period of time while if I had to find a new job or my wife had to find a new
Yeah.
job.
Yeah. And I saw this tweet the other day. It was like the best like job protection is a really strong emergency fund. And so if you have a 75, 50, 100 grand in the bank and you get laid off, you have cushion to go find something. Like I think what a lot of people, when things are going well, it's going, and we boomed in our sales for my job after COVID. But even what I got fat and happy. I definitely spent too much. Like my lifestyle creep went up. There were times where I knew a commission check was coming in and then it was like planning on how I was going to use it. But then it's okay, I can buy these shoes or I can go out to dinner and spend $200 with my friends. But then all of a sudden it's like the commission was gone. So, and then now we're not in a booming market economy like we were, where everything was going up. So it's a lot more realistic now. And I'm like looking back on, I'm like, wow, I could have bought like probably 1 or 2 more rental properties, or I just wasted some of that. You have to have other things because even when it's going great, it takes one change and it can be gone. So that's like you said, it's the whole point of the hybrid real estate professional here.
Yeah, it's really hard because I look back at stuff I did in my early 20s and I know that I could obviously been more diligent or stayed away from some of the vices that I like to dump my money into and time into and energy into back then. And I'd be, 10 times further than I am now. But I also think a lot of that stuff is, it's really hard to see in the moment, especially like you said, when there's that like exuberance of the market's just going up left and right and your commission checks are hit and bonuses at work and all this stuff. But yeah, $200 dinner, why not? And then you look back a couple years later, it's just a different lens. But so one of the things I love most about the way you write online publicly from your own persona, not necessarily ghostwriting, is you've shown an incredible maturity in being able to change your mind. I've noticed a couple times positions where like you've self-acknowledged that, hey, my opinion on this has changed. One of those things I think is around short-term rentals, right? So that was your thing when you started, was you wrote about your experience buying and then self-managing and learning to operate short-term rentals. And it's not that you dissuade people from doing that now, but you have this kind of more realistic tone of, hey, it's a lot of work. And I think you even said something the other day, if I remember, that like you're starting to consider outsourcing the management now because you recognize that maybe there's a higher and better use of your own time. And so trace us through the evolution of that beat because you made yourself known for that to begin with. And now it's already evolved quite a bit.
Yeah. So I guess there's 2 angles I can take with this. One is for the writing purposes online. If you're into real estate and you want to create content and start writing online, or even if you're posting videos, like it's the same idea. Having that topic of short-term rentals or niche, whatever you want to call it, that was really helpful for me because I just anchored everything I said was basically about that. And as from Ship 30, there's a million ways you can talk about the exact same thing. Like you can be very actionable, you can be aspirational, you can be like, this is how it happens, break it down like a framework. You can do step by steps. Here are the tips, here are the benefits, here are the reasons. here are the mistakes and lessons. Like you can talk about the same thing a million different ways. So to learn how to write online, the short-term rentals really helped me just focusing on that. Then I started writing about it. And when I started writing about it, the better I got. So then it helped me be able to write about other things. And then in terms of like me changing my mind on short-term rentals, I think the first one was so mind-blowingly easy for me. I house hacked it, and then I would just move out on the weekends and stay with my girlfriend, stay with friends. And then I ended up just moving out of that full time and running it. And it went really well at first, but then I bought the next one, and that one required a lot more operations. And then my sales career is also growing. So it's like, am I going to spend an hour or 2 hours of my time to optimize my calendar so I can earn an extra $200 or $300 or $400 a month? Or am I going to focus my time on closing the sale that can get me $30,000? So I understand, like I was a big proponent of self-managing because it teaches you everything you need to know about short-term rentals and you save the money. So I had this tweet. I was like, it's absolutely absurd that anyone is charging 20%. Like property managers charge 20%. What do they even do? I can do all of this. But then it's okay. If you're really going to be a top tier operator, like if you're following the best operators in real estate on Twitter, it's like super operationally intensive. And that's not exactly my strength. And I can do it to an extent, but if you're going to be the best short-term rental operator, there's so many things with the calendar that you got to manage. Every guest experience, like anytime they're like giving you a review that there's a cleaning problem, or even if they're being ridiculous and there's like a scoff on the wall from the past guests and they blame you, like that's taking your time and attention to focus on something that's so in the grand scheme of things doesn't matter. And yeah, it impacts your listing performance, but like for me is if it's going to be the difference between a few grand over the year and me spending hundreds, but dozens and dozens of hours doing this, it's not the best use of my time. So it really changed on that. So that's been like, so I like to call out, I think I went into real estate pretty rosy color glasses, whatever you said, whatever the saying is. And now like when I see people talk, the real estate professionals talk about it, and I'm experiencing some of the drawbacks, I'm like, okay, we need to really pump the brakes. I'm like, real estate, the best thing ever. Let's just quit it and get passive income and sit on the beach and just relax, because that's not what it is.
I think people want to be told the truth, right? And more, the more influencers there are that pop up and sell that margarita on the beach dream. It's nice to think about, especially if you're really frustrated at your job and you just want a different life for yourself, but it's not realistic. And I think people are better served hearing the truth. And the truth is that real estate is incredibly beneficial in the long run. It's an incredible vehicle for building wealth and building cash flow, but it is not something that's just going to get you there overnight. There are paths to get you there quicker, but they're pretty grueling. And the people that take those paths often have to do so at the expense of something else in their life, most likely something important to them, like their family or their hobbies. There are serious sacrifices involved with taking the faster road to making a bunch of money in real estate. And most people are probably closer to like you. We have jobs. You got a couple other businesses going on. In case I have kids, maybe one day you will too. You don't want to necessarily set those things aside just so you can like hyperscale. That's literally the thesis of this show is like,
yeah,
it's the Chad Carson style. Let's put something together that makes sense for us based around the life that we want to live. And I think part of one of the reasons that you and I have resonated so much with each other's content is that we see it as like these different buckets. So I want to go into the writing thing because you and I both took Ship 30 for 30, which just...
Can I stop you real quick?
Yeah.
Just to go back to that real estate point. I've had 2 moments in my life where I've felt that like I made it, or this is real passive income sort of thing. I've had 2 moments in my life, and however long I've been, like every single day I've invested in real estate in the past 3 years, only 2 times I've actually felt like, wow, like this is it. And that was like the very first time I posted my listing on Airbnb and I got 3 bookings. And my mom was trying to dissuade me from buying the place. And I heard her talking downstairs to my dad. She's, did you hear he already booked his place out? And I was like, that's right. That's right. It was like that moment. And then I was in Jackson Hole, Wyoming last year, about to go down go down the run. And I'm overlooking all of Jackson. Like, it's so beautiful because you can see for miles and miles. And then it's very flat, but then there's like the mountains. So you get like you see everything. And then I checked my phone before and I got an Airbnb deposit for like almost my mortgage. And I was like, wow, that's cool. But that's happened twice out of every single day of everything going wrong all the time. It's happened 2 times. So it's like that dream they always sell you on is a fleeting moment that barely happened. But go on about Ship 30. I just had to get that.
Right. No, I'm glad you stopped me. That's important to realize because those moments do happen and they're great, beautiful moments, but there is a lot of between that you got to accept as a real part of the journey.
Yeah.
But so the writing, right? So I think I mentioned this a few times on my show, but if anybody's listening to this for the first time, Ship 30 for 30 is a writing program. And Dickie Bush and Nicholas Cole are the 2 founders, incredible online marketers, incredible writers. And for anyone who knows what a marketing funnel is, they have probably the most effective funnel from free content into their cohort, into their premium academy. And it's like Bryce was saying earlier, you feel like they're your coach, even if you've never met them and you're getting their first email. And they have this just unbelievable ability to build trust quickly through writing. And I took that program, I think a month before you started it. And I always say I started writing every day in March 2022, and I never stopped. And I started without a real clear direction of what I wanted to do with it. But that later turned into the newsletter, which later turned into this podcast, which launched my coaching program and now a community. And so all this stuff organically evolved, even though I really didn't know what I was going to do with it, other than that I was going to write online every single day. So that one decision to join that program made an enormous outsized impact on the trajectory of what I chose to do with this business I'm building now. And it seems like that has clearly been the case for you. You went through the funnel, so to speak, and you're in the Ghostwriting Academy they have. And what I love about that academy is that they focus on a product, basically these educational email courses. And I think many people listening to this have probably been through one. It's basically when you go to someone's site, let's say it's a real estate investor, and they want to educate people about the way to buy your first rental property, and they'll have a 5-day course, and each day you'll get another step in the process. It's that quick way to build trust with people, but they're not that easy to write, at least not well. And it's one of the best tools for building trust and building an audience. So I want to just, with that context, maybe share what's your experience been since joining that academy. What are the kinds of people that you like to work with? And it seems like it's really resonated with you. I just want to hear more about that.
Yeah. So with that, I took Cole and Dickie's, their free educational email course back. I remember where I was and I took it back in 2000. And that was in March of 2022 because I joined their cohort the next month. But yeah, I went through there. They gave me so much value in that free educational email course that no one had explained to me. Like, I never knew how to write a headline, writing rhythms. Like when you're writing the text, I just blocked everything in like random order. And I thought you had to do 5-paragraph essays. Like I didn't know how to structure any of it. And they are the best coaches to walk you through step by step I've ever seen. They're incredible coaches on that. And it just taught me everything I basically needed to know about writing. And just by going through that, I'm a better writer than 90% of people probably, just because of that course. And it's not like I'm a naturally gifted writer. They make it so digestible that anybody can do it. And when you started, I don't know if you remember this, but they gave you the first tweet. So because they're holding his head again on Twitter, and they gave you the tweet and it's post this. And I was so nervous to even post anything. And I didn't want to be cringe, and I didn't want to get caught by my job. I get fired, and I didn't want I had all these fears, but then because they gave you the first one, I was just like, okay, I can do that. And so I did pay a few $100. It's probably even almost $1,000 now. Who knows what it is now, but I was like, they helped me with this. And I know they helped me with, I was trying to write do the niche websites, and I could feel how much it helped me there. And then I realized that's not what I wanted to do. So I moved to Twitter, and that's how I got into that. But so I learned so much value from that one free course. Like I could have just done that and been fine. Then I go to the actual paid course, Ship 30. And that was incredible. That was very hands-on intensive. It's every day you have to write and publish. So that really builds the habit and gets you into actually writing and publishing. And by the time that's over, they have a ton of stuff that you can continue to do and retake those courses, but you're almost like, oh man, like that's it. Dang, I wanted to keep going. So I just kept going with that and just kept writing. And what I really like about working with these top real estate investors that I do, or business operators, some people have business services like CPA, 1031 exchange, syndications fund, like all those things can be in play too. But what I found was like, I learned so much free stuff from them that I want to take what all these people know and do the exact same thing, because I know it's going to help people build wealth. I know we've had one of my clients, I can see the email list because I run his convert kit. And I know some of these people, like I know we're helping them because I've asked them, I'll message them like, hey, what did you think about this? And they'll be like, this is incredible. I didn't know these things. So you're teaching so many people for free that by the time you have a paid offer, they are willing to give you money. I was ready to give Cole and Dickie my credit card for the Ghostwriting Academy because I learned so much about writing from them. When they started talking about ghostwriting, I was like, oh, wow, I can take what I know about writing real estate and just translate what all these other business operators are doing on a daily basis, where they have no time to write and they don't have the structure for how we're going to lay out in a course and how we're going to make it actionable and how we're going to help people. But like now I know how to do that. So it's just been great because they're the experts. I'm not taking anything out of context. I'm using what words they say, but we're just structuring in a way that I know is going to help people. And I've spent tens of thousands of dollars through Dickie and Cole because of the mastermind that I'm in. And people make fun of me. Like I was in another mastermind, which we can talk about later, but they're like, they laughed at me when I told them the cost sites, that what I'd spent. And I was like, I've already made a good amount of that back. And they're like, oh, you're in their funnel. I'm like, I know I'm in their funnel. I'm in sales. I want them to sell me because I know they're going to make me more money. So of course I'm willing to pay them a lot of money up front because I know it's going to come back to me, and it's already almost paid off. It was just like, it's just a mutually beneficial exchange. And when somebody gives you so much free value that you're like, okay, what's the paid stuff going to be? So when one of my clients has a mastermind, and if he's teaching you step by step how to buy your first property, and you want to get into wholesaling, or you want to go to get 5 properties and you want to scale, or you want to do something else, like you're going to trust him because he's super trustworthy himself and he's teaching you for free. And he's doing this all on autopilot. He hasn't taken any time to press anything on his keypad. He's not doing any of that. Like I'm doing it for him, but it's his words and it's his advice. It's just like a really mutually beneficial relationship for my clients, for me, and for the people who are reading the free stuff.
Yeah, it's an unbelievable, powerful tool. Like you said, it's on autopilot once you write. As long as you have agreed upon and crafted the language appropriately, people can sign up wherever you're putting a link. And I think you've written a handful of these for yourself, and then obviously you've ghostwritten for others, but you just buy a domain name that makes sense to fit along with the content, and then you create a landing page, and the landing page explains exactly what you're going to get if you click sign up, and then it starts dripping the emails to you. And yeah, aren't you much more likely to buy something from someone who taught you something that is of value to you, whether or not you buy, right? That's the key, right? It's like they gave you something and they put the onus on you. If you think that was valuable and that maybe I have more to offer, stay on my email list and I'll continue to provide value and also tell you how you can work with me at the next level. And I think too that Dickie and Cole, I have a lot of respect for those guys, other than butchering their name earlier, but they are incredible entrepreneurs. They have shared their journey of building their business for free on YouTube, on their podcasts. Like they share the rationale behind the different programs they put out. and they let those lessons live out there on the internet for people to consume. So you always are left wondering, okay, they give all this away for free. What the hell is behind that? However many thousands or tens of thousands of dollars paywall on their highest level product. So I think it's just that curiosity and making those investments to figure out what is there. I've personally invested a lot in personal development, skill building, different skills. That was one of the programs I had considered, but joined Masterminds and I learned a lot of marketing skills that I didn't know before. And I just think that those investments do pay off. And usually you make the investment one time and then the skill. And so that's, there's a period of heavy investment, and yeah, there's probably some maintenance costs, but once you have those skills, you have them and you can reap the rewards long into the future. The more clients you have, the more clients you service, the better results you get for them, the easier it'll be to get more clients.
Yep.
So you started alluding to masterminds. Let's talk about those for a little bit. So I know, once again, I feel like there's many ways in which you and I are on pretty
Very
parallel
similar.
paths.
Yeah.
I think we both joined different masterminds around the same time. So you're in one called GoBundance, which is a very popular one. I think they're based out of Austin, if I'm not mistaken, but tell us a little bit about your decision to join and what that's been like for you.
Yeah. So I'm in GoBundance Emerge. I'm not quite rich enough to get into GoBundance, but one day. Yeah. So long story short, when I first got into real estate investing, I was trying to figure out where I wanted to house hack. Ended up on Bigger Pockets, and I loved Austin when I visited. And like deep down, I really wanted to move here. And then I found Jordan Moorhead, who's my agent, who became my agent. He was commenting on people's posts on Bigger Pockets, and he has a podcast called Austin Real Estate Investing, which is so niche and perfect. I was like, this guy knows what he's talking about, so I'm gonna listen to him. And then I end up, he's my agent now. His team, him and Connor, he's got a team under him. But so he connected me with, you should probably move here before you buy so you can be constantly checking out places and get a feel for it. I have a friend who has a room in his house if you want to live there. Turns out that guy is Diego Corzo, who's a really successful real estate investor. He's got his own Vine Investors Mastermind. He's really well connected because he's just genuinely like one of the best human beings ever. And his story is wild. So he came to Peru, or came to the US from Peru when he was 9, undocumented. Parents are hustlers, like the immigrant mentality, always grinding to make ends meet. He couldn't get a job legally, but he was like hustling and ended up like creating his own company and having GM, GM Motors, hire him as a consultant when he's like just out of college. So he just like built everything from the ground up, and he essentially somehow gets into this room with this guy named David Osborne, who I think is the largest owner of Keller Williams franchises. He's either right up there. Like he's with Gary. He's like pretty much a little under Gary Keller. I think he's worth a couple $100 million at this point, private jet guy, but he's got a bunch of friends who are on like a similar level and similar path as him. And those guys basically formed the group GoBundance. And they're about building wealth, but a lot of them are already really wealthy when they join. So it has to do with other stuff like being a whole life millionaire. So living a life of adventure, relationships, being a family man, being healthy and fit. So all in contributing like charities and all that. So a lot of GoBundance is based on just being like a whole life millionaire, I'll say. And so Diego was lucky enough to get into, he basically put himself there through his hard work, but also lucky to get in that room. And then he was their first apprentice. So he's like super involved in it. So I've gotten to meet a ton of people in GoBundance and GoBundance Emerge through him and through his business partner, Ward, and drew a few other of my friends. So now a bunch of my friends in Austin are in it or in Emerge or in actual GoBundance. So just by being around them, I felt like I've been in it for most of the time. Like I always hear all the different speakers from GoBundance. I always heard a lot of the recordings. The CEO of GoBundance, I was actually in his mastermind too. So just like all these people were in it, I happened to just get into that crew basically. So that's why I joined. So GoBundance is very much about like wealth building, but also all the other things. And then I have the mastermind with the ghostwriting. So that's really niche focused, which I really like and super actionable that way. Then I had done like a couple previous smaller masterminds that I'm not doing now because I mastermind myself out. But I have two now. So I'm in the merge and the ghostwriting. I'm at. With a merge, we do the weekly pod meetings every week, which has really been helpful. I think that's like the most value is like you're working with the same people. And the way it's structured is you call each other out on your bullshit and you're super open about things. So there was definitely some things that I got called out on recently that really helped me like refocus and change my attitude on some things that were going sideways. And it also helped me like focus on one of the guys is very focused on business development. And he's usually sending all these DMs every single day to be prospecting to reach out to get more get more ghostwriting clients. So he's held me accountable to that. And ever since doing that, I've had so many more calls than I've ever had before, just potential clients and a lot of inbound leads where most of the time I won't even ghostwrite for them. Like it's not really a fit for me, or they don't have enough followers where I'm like, I don't know how much business you're going to get. So I'm going to give you free advice. So I've just had a ton of those calls all because people put me to the fire and they're like, you're in sales. Why are you not prospecting all the time? I don't know. And so I still need accountability. So that's been helpful. And then, so it's a good balance of whole life millionaire, accountability, all that. And then like very niche specific, like step by step is exactly what you do. If you have any questions, you always have access to people. And then I guess the last quick point I'll make is like the masterminds are really good for access to people. Like the access could really pay for itself because you're now like friends with Chad Carson. If you have some serious question that most people don't, he actually responds. I've commented on his stuff. He'll respond. He's really good about that. He doesn't have to. He's got a family. He's got a million other things. He's probably hasn't responded to everybody before because she's been busy. But like he's got to respond to Aaron every time. And I was able to get like for Diego, for example, or anybody, his connections, like if he's like, oh, I can connect you with this person who's going to make your life a million times easier or help you solve a specific problem or get you in contact with an attorney or a CPA or stuff that has like tangible value. That's really where I think the biggest value is in these masterminds.
100%, man. And yeah, the idea of paying for access, some people feel like that's super transactional and it's not personal. But I would say that, like behind these walls and in these rooms, like people give gladly.
Yeah.
They do it from a place of believing that there's enough to go around for everyone. The idea of GoBundance is based on abundance. A lot of other masterminds embody the same attitude, which is let's share with each other, let's pour into each other, you make each other better, help each other accomplish what we want out of our lives as a whole. So I think I like that idea, the whole life millionaire, because a lot of people think it's just a bunch of millionaires glad handing with each other, which it is to some extent. But I think I just read the book Tribe of Millionaires, which is, speaking of lead magnets, that's basically the greatest lead magnet of all time. And that's written by the GoBundance founders. It's a fictional story about someone who, I won't ruin it, but basically he ends up going on one of these retreats for the first time. And he thinks it's all about just rich people hanging out. And he learns it's about much more. And then I love the way you counterbalance that with the super specific niche ghostwriting mastermind, because at the end of the day, if you want to succeed at becoming the best or one of the best at your craft, surrounding yourself with people who are the best and with peers who are also on the same pursuit, what better way to do it, right? You can.
I can ping Nicholas Cole. He responds to me every time. He's recorded like a loom to show me something out of his own time. I don't think there's a better copywriter on the planet for his age. Like there's like a black belt and there's like second, third, fourth, fifth degree black. Like he's up there and he's really good. And I can ping him and he'll just respond. That's amazing. That doesn't happen. Yeah, it's pay to play to some extent, but he knows I've gone through all the free stuff. He knows I put the effort. So of course he's gonna like.
And I think people snip through sometimes. If you just show up and you want to buy the like $100,000 all access pass, but you've never consumed anything else and you've never tried anything on your own, these people might decline you. They might be like, dude, why don't you go like actually take a shot at it before you try and cheat your way to the front. And I respect that about some of these masterminds and groups are more selective about who they let in. And some people view that selectiveness as like this exclusivity, but I actually think that it's important for there to be some degree of pre-screening and qualification so that the people that do end up in those rooms are a good fit for each other and they're actually pushing each other and nobody's expecting, everyone's taking action. I think that's like the one I'm in, Action Academy. It's in the name, right? It will talk to you sternly and then eventually potentially work you out of the room if you are not taking action.
Yep.
And that's like what people need. That's why people join.
Yeah. And I know GoButtons has had to kick out some people for sketchy investments that they did and are kind of peddling, and they're super strict about that now. There's screening call. There was a screening call to get in, and then there was a like application. Actually, for both, I think had an application and a screening call. So it's not like you just pay and you're in, but you got to like work your way there.
Yeah. No, and then from the community standpoint, you essentially have this like full stack, right? Where you're putting yourself in rooms with people that are towards the higher part of the journey that you want to be on, right? So the David Osborne, $200 million private jet, that's not really, even though you and I are both on good trajectories, you look at someone like that and you're not like, oh, that's going to be me in 2 years. You can learn so much from him. Yeah. Then you're surrounded by other people that are more like peers. And then also, I know by virtue of the fact that you and I both still write on the internet, you want to be able to provide something to other people who are starting their journey too. So I like that full stack of those, your peers, your people that you can help make an impact on. And then also the people you look up to and can get mentorship from.
I used to hear that in jiu-jitsu, they would say you should always go like roll, which is like sparring equivalent, go against someone who's you're equal to. So you're like, you can compete and rise each other up than somebody who is not as good as you. So you can A, practice and get better yourself, B, help them. And then of course you go with people who are head and shoulders above you, who are helping you. So just getting like all those levels, I think if you're always going after the big dogs, you're not going with people at your level and you're not helping anybody. We really got to do all three of them to actually have real growth.
And the same holds true for growing on social media, right? There's a lot of people on Twitter that they have 15 followers and they've never commented on anyone's posts, except they'll go try and DM Sahil Bloom with 1 million followers and be like, why isn't he responding? Or you could meet other people that are like on the path with you and build a relationship. That's what you and I did. We're around the same, like we were on the same path at the same time. And you obviously want to continue to, try and engage and comment on the bigger accounts too, but it's easier to build relationships when you're like in a relatable phase.
And I actually know Sahil. Like I knew him growing up. He trained at Cressy Performance with me. He was a senior. Like when he was a junior and senior, I was in 8th grade and a freshman. And he was like, he's actually genuinely a very great human being. Like he treated me like he treated the professional athletes there. Like I could be in a room with, there's one of the baseball pitchers I would know. There'd be Sahil, who is this rising star, got to go pitch at Stanford. Then there's me, the irrelevant freshman who's just there and happy to be there. And he treated me the exact same way. So he's a legit guy. But even he doesn't comment. I comment on his stuff sometimes, but he doesn't see them. Like 90% of the time, he probably doesn't see it. So you can't just go for the big fish. Like you need to build up with people. And we retweet each other. We comment on each other's stuff. We all do that with a bunch of people around our level. And that's who you're going to grow with. So instead of trying to get in the club with Nick Huber and Sahil or Justin Welsh on Twitter, who are absolutely crushing it, so grow with people who are around your level. And it's by the time I'll get up there, you're going to be that crew that's people are looking up for. So you got to play where you're at.
Absolutely. So we're coming towards the end of the time here. There's 2 things I want to touch on. One is you've described all these different skills, all these different businesses, and then the support network you have around you with the masterminds. And then also we talked about the evolution of starting with the couple short terms and then building all this along the way. So what role, you have so many different things you could activate or press on at any given point. What does the next 2-3 years look like for you? What are you doubling down on? What are you pulling back from? What's the vision there?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I'm definitely going to cut back on some of the like admin stuff I do. So eventually gonna hire a VA like you had talked about, or we had talked about before this. I definitely need help on doing stuff like that. Like I hate booking my flights. Like my parents would be like, okay, they'll ask me when I'm going to book my flight for Thanksgiving and I won't book it till like right before. And when all the prices are right, I just don't do those things that don't matter, or manage my short-term rental. I don't really want to do that. So I'm planning on hiring people to do a lot of these admin tasks so I can focus more on what I want to focus on. Outside of my job, what I'm going to be focusing on is the ghostwriting and our dog sitting business. Ghostwriting, I've created a couple free courses online. People can just download it. It teaches you how to get started writing on Twitter, specifically about for the angle of real estate. So it's a lot of stuff I learned from Ship 30, Justin Welsh. I have another buddy, Brian O'Connor, who's pretty big on Twitter, and he's been very helpful for me too. A bunch of other real estate people I've learned from. Basically, it's how to start writing online about real estate. That would obviously parlay eventually into ghostwriting. I'm not really sure how. You can always do the courses, but I don't know. I've created like a trial course called Tweet Copy Training that I'm about to launch. I couldn't launch it for $1 on ConvertKit. The minimum was $5. So I think I'm going to do a $5 one, because when I learned how to write tweets, I would hand copy them. I've done a few hand copywriting courses before. And when I was first starting, we would always take what other people wrote and then you just twist it to make it fit your own. So I was doing that. I have no idea how it's going to go. So it's $5. I don't really care. And then I might do another one like with more videos about teaching people how to write online. Probably going to do $5 again, just so there's some skin in the game. Because if it's everything that's free, I feel like people will take it to an extent, but if you have to pay for it, I think that's a different scenario. Probably testing those are really just a lot of tests. So a lot of stuff I do on my own personal account are just tests. Like I created a free course on short-term rentals. I created 2 of them, but I don't have an offer at the end because I'm not trying to sell you on short-term rental. I have an affiliate that you can sign up on Airbnb and I get whatever the kickback is, but I'm not trying to drive traffic to it. It's more practice. One of the things I'm going to practice on myself is doing a dog sitting course. So I've been structuring in my head, like how I want to come about that once I finish the other projects. So I'll probably have another free course on dog sitting, how to make your first $100 dog sitting, or how to make your first $1,000, something like that. Then I'll be focused on like actually growing that business with my lady. I'm getting in a house where we can set up, have a big enough yard and get the dog bath, get all the toys, get all the jungle gym types things, set that up, and then continue to write about my ghostwriting and write about that. And you're supposed to niche down. I probably would theoretically make more money on Twitter if I just became a real estate ghostwriter and only talked about that, but I don't want to do that. So just like balancing and figuring out where things fit and like what I like to do, testing on myself, testing different product ideas and seeing what sticks. And then we'll see what happens in 2 years. Who knows?
It's so creative. So basically I said, what are you going to double down on? You said you're going to use an educational email course to teach people how to start their own dog walking business. And then you're going to move into potentially a house hack that you can operate your own dog walking business out of, all while bolstering a couple of these courses and without necessarily, I think people appreciate that you're not like just hard selling them all the time left and right, and that you've already articulated a lot of value with no strings attached. And I think the audience would be wise to take these $5 courses before he gets smart himself and starts adding zeros to the end of those, because that day will come probably pretty soon. So
yeah, I put in there, I was like, so it's in my Insights to Influence one, like as a free download if anyone wants to get that on my page. But at the end of it, part of what I sell for the ghostwriting is how you can follow up to get people in the funnel more. And it's like a nice way of offering your sales. It's not like a hard and fast, buy my course now or click here and to unlock this. Like I'm giving away all the information free. If you want to pay for it, here are the options. So I put in there like price is probably going to increase soon. I might scrap the whole thing and be like, I don't really care about this. So it's a lot of for testing, just like playing around, because I take all those lessons I learn and do that for other people. So if I can whenever I prove, okay, this works, or I actually really like doing this, I want to double down. And if I want to make a course on this and make it really intensive and charge $1,000, I can if I want to, but I don't have to. So just like playing with that and seeing where the demand is and what I like doing, and then how you can mutually beneficially make money off it. If I were to do a dog sitting course on how to make your first $100, it's like, do I charge $100? Do you charge less? Then it's, figuring that stuff out to be like, where's the most value there? And then it's us playing with another idea. It's, do I make a course on how to make your first $10,000 or your first $1? Because that's like totally different things. So it's maybe I do both, and it's you take the $1 ones free, get your first dollar, get your first client, dog sitting, dog walking, whatever you want to do. And then if you want to buy a course to get to 10,000, like here's the steps. So it's just figuring all that out, and I feel like a lot of people just throw crap against the wall and you see what sticks, and then you just figure it out from there. And
Don't forget that you're going to eventually have the dog walking mastermind group and the dog walking mastermind retreats in Costa Rica.
I'll make more money from doing all that than I do from dog walking. So I always make fun of people for doing that, because especially in some of the STR people I see, it's not as bad on Twitter, although there are some people that I don't like what they're doing. But you're like, you make more money by selling the idea than the actual idea. So you have to weigh that out. That's fine. If you can do something, if you can solve a problem and do a business that makes 50 grand, that's great. And if you can get paid 60 grand to teach it, like there's no problem. I have no problem with that. I think more people should be creating courses on things they can do. There's just there's just a fine line though. And you can tell when somebody's, I don't know how to say it, but like they're being a little sleazy or like disingenuous. I feel like you can tell that. And I've paid for some of those courses where I'm like, I was like, you just basically slap together all the stuff I saw you write for free and just repackage it in the exact same way. And it's no additional value. So then I'm like, okay, you just got $100 from me for nothing. And I'm just trying to avoid that. I don't want to be that guy, but I also want to make money. I'm not going to lie, but trying to do it the right way.
Totally fair. I think you just got a taste of Bryce working through something in real time, which is how he writes as well. Yeah, like I said, one of my favorite accounts on Twitter. We built a relationship over the last year plus, and this is our first time meeting face to face. It was a blast. Bryce, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show. You already alluded to this, but where can people find you? Where do you want them to keep in touch with you?
And you just find me on Twitter, or you can, if you're into Instagram, you can it's called Big Little Paws in one word. That's my girlfriend and I's Instagram account, I think. Let me double check. But yeah, go follow me on Twitter. That's really where it's at. So Big Little Paws Pet Sitting is the Instagram if you want to watch the videos. But Twitter is really where to find me. So go there.
We will find those and put them in the show notes, along with a couple of his free educational email courses. And any last words for folks?
I will say, if you're trying to write online, the number one thing is just consistency and actually doing it and not falling off. Because I've seen people who blow up, like they get 10,000 followers in a few days and then they'll stop writing online. And everybody who's had success is just continues to do it day after day, every single day for years. So that's literally that's pretty much all you need to do, and you'll figure it out.
I love it. We'll leave it there. Bryce, thanks again, and have a good one. We'll talk again soon.
Thank you.